skin, so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, from my mahogany panel den, this is The Life Gorgeous, where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. The name of the show is Good Morning Football, and it's on the NFL Network. And a young man who I knew I was a fan of, but I didn't know him personally, Peter Schrager, reached out to me, loves my podcast. I guess he's an old Kilborn fan. We met, we hit it off, and Peter is my guest today, and I really like Peter Schrager. He's good people, very entertaining, some fun stories. That's coming up, and of course, later I answer your questions. Keep sending in those questions. I'm going to help and heal. Ladies and gentlemen, we are dissolving. This is Peter Schrager. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Peter Schrager. Oh, Lord. This is exciting. I love the show you guys do. You probably hear that all the time. It's called Good Morning Football, right? It's not called Good Morning America. It's not called Good Morning American Football. It's called Good Morning Football.
Good Morning Football, every morning, NFL Network. When I was a kid, not to date you, I would wake up every morning, have my cereal, and watch Craig Kilborn doing the highlights, whether it be Doug West throwing it to Sam Mitchell, whatever it was. You were on the highlights, and we are now that for a new generation for football fans. We run from 7 to 10 Eastern on NFL Network, and then we re-air like you guys did. I used to watch you guys every hour, and that's where it was. It was like just getting ready for school in the morning, cartoons and Sports Center, and that's what we are now for the next generation, hopefully.
I can't believe you know Doug West and Sam Mitchell. You're too young. Dude. You did your research, man.
No, I didn't do research. I can give you every 1992 NBA roster based on memorizing the Skybox basketball cards or hoops, whatever those kind of cards were. Before it was all NFTs, I used to collect shoe boxes where they just like study NBA coaches. Like, what is Dick Versace up to today? Like,
right.
Cotton Fitzsimmons. Like, I knew all those guys. Yeah.
Cotton Fitzsimmons, the Suns. Oh, wait, I didn't know you were a pro basketball guy. That's in my wheelhouse. Are you an NBA guy?
Huge.
Now, I don't see every one of your pro football shows. Do you reference the NBA much or not?
All the time. And it's usually the random throwback where I'll like reference something from the late 90s, early 2000s, a situation that applies to it. There's always crossover.
Have you ever seen, this is random. I do random thoughts because of my agile mind.
And I'm with you. I'll follow you.
And I know you can follow me, but there was a show that I don't really watch, but I saw about 8 episodes. The one with Giamatti, Billions.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had weird dialogue in there, and they'd reference Dominique and Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
I'm like Allen Iverson, man. Let me have the ball. Like they would say these things.
Yeah.
So somebody on the writing staff was an NBA fan.
I think it's the showrunner's guy, Brian Koppelman, who also did Rounders, and they are deep. And he's like a Knicks season ticket holder. Okay. See, now where our show would go next level, it would be instead of referencing Iverson, we're referencing Eric Snow, Aaron McKee, Matt Geiger, and the rest of the roster. Like Iverson's too basic.
The Geiger counter.
Geiger.
Okay. Let's tell people how long we've known each other.
Yeah. Why don't you take the lead on this one?
You texted me a week ago. We have a mutual friend. You got my text and you were so nice. And I've been an admirer of you and your show for a long time. So, and why are we here? Because you grew up watching me. I'm not that old. We look the same, man.
But your sensibility and everything was like your window to just a little bit, to the side of just what straight like sportscaster is supposed to be is exactly how I got into this thing. I came in the back door also. I didn't go to Newhouse for broadcasting school. I didn't go to Medill Northwestern. I kind of came in the back door also. And I love your story working in the local news and then obviously getting up to the big spot in Sports Center. But Ian Eagle, mutual friend. And then I listened to a podcast called it's called Sunday Papers with Greg Fitzsimmons and Mike Gibbons. And when you had Gibbons on,
he's my buddy.
I've been listening to that podcast for years. So when you had Gibbons on, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know he was with you at either Daily Show or the Late
Late Show, CBS. He's one of the funniest men. He's one of the funniest guys around. He was a writer, producer, and then I put him on the air. Like I could bounce stuff off of him. So I would talk to him and like an EP. And he's a very funny guy. He's very funny. And he's fun to go out drinking with. And he's been up close with my conquistador lamp. He's been in my den along with Goldie and Alec. So we met a few weeks ago, and Peter, it's great to see you. Let me just think. You mentioned Northwestern. You could have gotten into Northwestern. You seem like a bright guy. Are you one of those guys that's bright but didn't apply himself?
No, I was very much into Northwestern. I applied to Northwestern, applied to Duke, applied to Wake Forest, didn't get into any of them. Ended up going to Emory University, which does not have a football team, but had a prominent Division III athletic program. And I have no regrets. But Northwestern did not accept me. And I'll go back to my visit there. It was right on the lake, and I'll date myself however you want. But Plaxico Burress was the star wide receiver from Michigan State. And I saw him just torch Northwestern and I was like, this is the school for me. If I can see Big Ten talent and then go at the school that applied, thought I was getting, and then it never was meant to be. So
it's a good academic school that was in the Big Ten or is in the Big Ten.
Exactly
and they always were, they were bad. They had a basketball player named Billy McKinney way back in the day. I think he played
Evan Eschmeyer, John Amici. No, he was Penn State. No, they had a good couple players.
I wanted to ask you about your show. Who comes up with all the stuff? Is that you guys and the producers, or who comes up with the angles and what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, a lot of it is host driven because there's just so many hours and we have like real personalities and point of views, but we've got a creative team behind the scenes. And a lot of times we'll kind of punt it to the creatives and say, hey, give us the setup of something we haven't seen on TV. We'll fill in the blanks with the content, but like create a setup. So Kyle Brandt and I they'll say, hey, we want to have two guys who pretend like they're Wall Street stockbrokers on the street. We'll run with that. Yeah, we'll run with that and we'll be fine. Just give us the setup. And a lot of times it's kind of like that James Corden, Jimmy Fallon game show like gimmick where it's just put us in uncomfortable situations and we'll bring it back to football. But the takes and all that's a daily, my mind's always working on how I'm going to have a unique take in a sea of Twitter and Facebook and of course all things on television.
I have a huge compliment for you and Kyle, and it's this is how I would say it. It's my brother compliments me. He says my whole life I've had what he calls boyish enthusiasm. You guys do what Chick Hearn used to do, which is if you listen to Chick Hearn, the great play-by-play man from the Lakers from years ago, Magic. If you listen to a play, if you turned it on, and Magic is bringing the ball up in the second quarter. You couldn't tell if it was the second quarter of an exhibition game or the fourth quarter of the finals. He was always like, the Lakers have to score here. He was so intense. He was so passionate. And you guys are like Chick, where every time you guys talk, I think you actually like Kirk Cousins. That's what I'm thinking. I think
we could sell you on
Kyle,
it, right?
I think you guys like Kirk Cousins.
Well, you can't fake it because we're on shows in May and June talking NFL for 3 hours and there are no repeated segments. It's like, all right, guys, hypothetically tell us if you could pick a third string tight end on the Broncos, who should it be this year? Like one of those deals. We've got to know our stuff. But I caught myself with preseason, watching Lions-Falcons fourth quarter of a preseason game. And I'm like, I really love what I do because if you don't, you can't be doing that right now.
Right.
I'm voluntarily doing that. But it's real. Kyle and I, neither one of us in a million years thought we'd be hosting a television show, and we are, and we absolutely love it.
Are you one of these guys that in a few years, some team's going to call you and say, we want you to be the GM? Would that be pretty exciting or what?
I don't, there was a story in the New York Daily News a few years back, and the details got a little murky, but the story was that they were talking to me about potentially taking on some advisory role with the Jets or GM.
I didn't know that. They need help.
And it was, well, at the time it was Adam Gase was maybe the head coach and they had just been done with Mike McCagnon. And the truth of the matter was the owner and I had exchanged pleasantries over the years, and he would come to me with my thoughts on which young coaches. And that was the extent of it. But then I got to thinking, I'm like, okay, hypothetically, if a team did, propose that to me, would that be interesting? And I realized I don't scout players. I didn't play football. There's a lot more. I'm not good with numbers. I think I'm in the right chair, and I'm flattered if anyone is considering hey, you seem to know the game inside and out, and you know these players come out of the draft. I think I'm pretty good doing the talking about it, but I
agree.
Don't know if
I agree.
The players.
I as wonderful as you are, I don't know if you're an expert in the scouting and the player personnel stuff, but you are very knowledgeable and you have a personality. So you're doing a hell of a job. I really enjoy it.
Would you have, like at some point in your career, if say an expansion NBA team or a team, if they came to you and said, maybe not GM, but hey, would you like to be a part of the front office? Would that tickle your fancy?
No, but I like what I'm doing, which is nothing. But but I like when people call me. The late great Flip Saunders, who was the coach of the Timberwolves.
Of course.
I knew him when I was in high school. He had played at the University of Minnesota. Then he was coaching out of junior college, and he recruited me, and I went to Montana State instead. But we were friends for a long time. But he called me once. I've never told this before, but he called me and said he had a trade proposal, and he said, "What do you think of this?" And he ran it by me. Now I obviously wasn't the only guy he ran it by, and it was Wally Zerbiak, for Sharif Abdur-Rahim. And I said,
that would have been a blockbuster.
I said, I don't have strong feelings because Wally was underrated. He was 6'7", 252, more than a shooter. He was a scorer, very strong. And Sharif was okay. So I was lukewarm on it, and the trade never happened. Because I nixed it, Peter. No. But it was. You
didn't offer an opinion though. You were just like,
if I have an opinion, I'll tell him, do the trade. Yeah. I said, I didn't have a strong opinion. Like right now, I talked to local guys in Minnesota. Dane Moore does a podcast, and we thought we were going to get rid of D'Lo. This is before the Rudy Gobert trade.
Sure.
And I said, fine, D'Lo's too streaky. He passes well, defensive liability. Just tell me who the point guard is, because I don't want anybody less talented than him. And we couldn't come up with a point guard because some of the free agent guys like Tyus Jones, I love him. He's from Minnesota. He was available free agency from Memphis. He's a backup. He's not a starter. So I'm glad we kept D'Lo. And in the future, we still may have to replace him in a year. But right now with Rudy Gobert, do you have an opinion on that trade, by the way?
I know. I listened to you and Ryan Russillo, and I felt the same way. I didn't think that was such a horrible trade. And the way him and Simmons reacted was like this was World War III. And
exactly.
And they might be right. And I'll be honest. I listen to those guys every Sunday night, and I love them talking hoops. And that's really kind of and I don't listen to a lot of the NBA podcasts, but that's really my go-to is Simmons. And though I thought the trade made sense. He's one of the best defensive players in the league, and he clogs the middle, and he does average 15 a game. So I'm like, not a terrible trade, and they still get to keep Karl Anthony Towns, and they've got the deal. But some people were outraged, and it wasn't just them.
And I don't know why. I thought it was personal, but I thought I straightened Ryan Russillo out, put him in his place, spanked him a little bit. Didn't take my shirt off when I did it. God, I wanted to take my shirt off when I was interviewing him. Oh my God.
Buff.
Okay. So, I did want to ask you, with your job, do you ever get in trouble with some of the players or the coaches or the owners or the GMs and say, "Hey, Schrager, back off, man. You're costing me a job here."
Yeah. And it might not be put that way, but there are either some things that I've been told that are under the guise of do not say a word. And then I hint too much and say something too much on air, which is not always great. And then B, I'll give a story. It was my first year on the show, and I had developed a bit of bravado, and then I thought I had this great platform, and I had no relationship with the head coach that I will explain who it was. And I come on the air, and it was after the Carolina Panthers played the Seattle Seahawks on a Sunday night game, and Cam Newton was benched for the first series of the game because he didn't wear a shirt and tie to the game by Ron Rivera. And Derek Anderson started the game for Carolina. On the very first drive, Derek Anderson throws a pick six, game over, Seahawks win. And I come in Monday morning, and I'm very demonstrative. I was like, who are you trying to prove something to? Ron Rivera, you got to win games here. I understand, but Cam Newton can wear whatever the hell he wants and da-da-da-da-da-da. And how dare you? That loss is on you. It's not lost on anybody else. On Sunday night, you're trying to make a statement. Tough guy, Ron Rivera, blah, blah, blah. I get a call from their PR guy, a guy named Stephen Drummond, who I've known for many years, and I've begged for many of interviews over years. Like, hey, can I please get Luke Kuechly for 5 minutes? Can I get Greg Olsen? He goes, yeah, this isn't about me so much. This is about Coach. He was watching you when you went on that rant, and I got to tell you, he wasn't thrilled and wants to speak with you. So I'm like, all right, that's it. Let's go. If I'm going to have this big hotshot thing, I assume Stephen A. Smith has to deal with this. I assume this is my moment, whatever. We couldn't connect. Now, it just so happens I do sidelines on the weekend, And the next game, I check my schedule. It's Carolina, Atlanta. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I walk into that Carolina facility, and Brandon Beane, who's now the GM of the Bills, was their number 2 guy at the time in Carolina. And I've known him, and he pulls me aside. It's like, Ron is heated. Like, I don't know, like bear with, like Ron's like a no nonsense guy. He's an ex-player, and it's not like laughy jokey with him. Like, he's heated, you know? I'm like, oh shit. So I sit down in Ron Rivera's office, and he looks me right in the eye, and he's like, you know, would you say that to my face right now? And I'm like, well, here's my info. He goes, let me tell you something. Next time you ever have an issue with what I've done as a coach, before going on air and acting like you know all and having to take, here's my number. I'm happy to speak with you about it. You can text me, you can call me. I'm pretty accessible for something like this. And I'd love to explain myself. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think, you know, that you're at the level where you belong. And he starts reaming it to me. And then he starts going harder and harder at me. And I'm like, all right, coach. And then all of a sudden, Bean and Drummond come in, and they're cracking up, and Ron starts laughing. I don't know. Say what you gotta say. He's like, it's good. He's like, but the lesson is that just know we're watching. So if you say something, it's okay. Be critical. You better believe it, and you better know what you're talking about. So I've gotten, you know, you get things, you know, especially come December, January, when the coaches are on the hot seat and they're watching and they're wondering. And they know that I speak to some of the owners and presidents. If I'm particularly harsh on a coach, it might not bode well for them.
You know, when I was doing the CBS Late Late Show, we did it out here in Los Angeles, and I wasn't really a fan of the Kobe Shaq Lakers, and I had David Stern on the show, and I thought that Shaq got away with some offensive fouls. You know, I wanted to tell him first, watch tape of Tim Duncan, but but I wanted to say you can go over somebody with a sky hook, you can spin and go around, you can go under with an up and under like McHale. You can't go through Dikembe's face or his chest. No. But I remember Kevin Garnett or one of these guys, they did the show. They go, they're going to run you out of LA, man. You're ragging on the Lakers. And I remember I talked to a CBS executive and I said, should I ease up on the Lakers? He goes, no, I'm a Knicks fan. Keep doing it.
Yeah, I love that.
Because it's a national show. And I was heartbroken when the Sacramento Kings lost that series. But I do have Shaq in my.
It was very well officiated, that series.
Exactly. So yeah, exactly. That was hilarious. One. Ladies and gentlemen, when anyone sends you money or if you need to get paid back, always ask for Zelle. With Zelle, the money goes straight into your bank account, and it works even if the sender banks somewhere different than you in the U.S. You can probably tell by looking at me that Schrager's likes to eat out. A lot of French restaurants. Sometimes my friends pay. I don't like that. Afterwards, I use Zelle and I send them money. I ordered a lot of food. Sometimes we go down to the park and have a barbecue. Afterwards, we all pitch in. I use Zelle. I send hundreds of dollars to my friends. It's kind of a rush. I'm in the park eating barbecue wearing linen. Life is good. The money sent goes straight into your bank account, typically in minutes between enrolled users. You don't have to download another app because it's probably already in your banking app. It's in over 1,600 different banking apps. Always double check that the sender has your correct U.S. mobile number or email address so the money goes to the right place, straight into your bank account. Look for Zelle in your banking app today. My name is Schrager's, and things are going very, very well. So, you grew up in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, Jersey, suburbs of Jersey, Jersey Shore, Freehold, New Jersey, Springsteen country.
So, oh yes, you heard Gibby on Springsteen.
Oh, I've heard. And you know what? I'm not offended. To be honest, between the two, everyone in my town is like Springsteen.
Right.
I'm a Billy Joel guy. Not gonna lie.
Oh, that's even worse. But anyways, no, I like Springsteen. Billy Joel's okay. No, I was going to tell you that I was born in Kansas City. I lived there ages 1 and 2, but then I went to New Jersey because my dad was from Teaneck and he went to Rutgers. He was born in Queens.
Wow.
So I lived in Florham Park, which is near Morristown.
It's where the Jets practice right now.
Exactly. And I only have a few memories, but one of them is there's a little something called Friendlies. And I used to get grilled cheese sandwiches with a root beer float. So are they still there?
Yes, and they're unbelievable. And I take my son there, and it's like $7.99 for a burger, a fries, and an ice cream. It's like you're in 1965. They're amazing. There was an ice cream cone that I used to have from there that it's ice cream, and then they put like Reese's Pieces in the eyes and the mouth, and then the cone upside down. I forget what it was called, but like that is, you say the word friendlies, I've got like warm chills all over my body. It's such a great piece of nostalgia.
Well, then when I went to ESPN in Bristol, they had a Friendlies across the street, and everyone was getting what is it called? A fribble? Is that what they call them? Fribbles?
Fribble, it's great.
Yeah.
Great drink. Yeah.
So Ravitch was getting fribbles all night long, and I'm trying to stay svelte and stuff. But yeah, Friendlies is only on the East Coast or in that area, so we don't have them out here. But that was my memory of New Jersey.
It's a great
I
memory.
did want to ask you. I have friends in New York who are Jets fans, and when I lived there in the '90s, I went with them to see the Jets play, and they played against, I think it was the Raiders. I just know the quarterback because he's one of these flaky guys who I love with a strong arm. I like Jeff George. Okay, so it was Jeff George.
I thought you were going to say Browning Nagel. I'm like, all right, I'm in.
No.
Let's go. Let's keep going.
So Jeff George was on the other team, and I think it was the Raiders at the time. I'm pretty sure he played for the Raiders. But so the Jets, my friends are depressed about the Jets for years and years. Do you think it's safe to say that no matter who they draft as a QB, because of the organization is tarnished, the QB is not going to turn out to be very good?
I don't buy that.
Is that too cynical?
I don't believe. Yeah, and I don't believe in that mysticism. I saw Joe Burrow come off an ACL and take the Cincinnati Bengals not only to the Super Bowl but like be cool in the process. So I don't believe in that. I actually think Zach Wilson has a promising future, but yet you see the second drive of preseason, he turns his knee, and you're like, shit, here we go again.
Right.
But I'm not going to go down that road. I like the coach. I think Salah's a good dude. And I think they just had a great draft class. Like, I'm not the one to be doom and gloom Jets. It's very easy in New York. And a lot of the sports talk radio guys have made a career after being the, not only the Jets stink, but like the woe is me Jets fan. I just can't, nothing goes my way. Every day it's Murphy's Law over here. Like, I don't do that with the Jets. I think that every summer it's a chance for new positivity.
Well, that's good. I agree, because I don't like when media says snake bit or cursed and all that kind of stuff. So I agree with you on that. On a side note, I'm not into gossip, but after this podcast, if you can send me, I don't follow this, but if you can send me a picture of the mom's best friend, the hot best friend of the mom, the Zach Wilson thing. I haven't seen what she looks like, just for me. Okay, we're moving on. Did you play sports growing up?
Yes. Played basketball.
Oh, were you any good? Ernie D. You look like Ernie D. Gregorio. Did you play like Ernie D?
I feel like I was Ernie D. Ernie D was on those Providence teams, right?
Yeah,
the point guard back there.
He was rookie of the year for the Buffalo Braves. He could pass the ball.
He was great. I'm 6'3", so I played like small forward. I was in a very good conference. We played in the A North Conference in New Jersey. I was captain my senior year, but I was not a 15 points a game guy. I was more like a glue guy, 8 points a game, probably 6 rebounds a game, but was a starter for my junior and senior year of high school. And we played against some really good squads, teams. We played against DeJuan Wagner. We played against, I don't know, do you remember the Billett brothers, Jeff and Todd Billett? They went to Christian Brothers. They played at like college level, Virginia and Rutgers, really good. Tim Begley played. And these are like names that were not necessarily NBA players, but we had a really like loaded conference, and I was good. And then I would go to like my Jewish summer camp and I would dominate. But in my high school, like the public school in Jersey, I was a solid player. Yeah.
Is that your favorite sport, basketball, or is it?
Football's my favorite sport, because even then I was just I just obsessed with football. I loved it. Fantasy football from an early age, and just loving every piece of minutia about it. But the NBA and college basketball during, the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, you can't find a bigger fan. I remember all those big games, all those big moments. And, I modeled my game more off of like, a passing big man, a Boris Diaw type, if you will. Maybe Vlade Jody. I would be in there to stay in the post and a nice little pass. Weber's game.
Well, Arvidas used to do that stuff. It was so much fun with the drop passes.
Your Vitas, my Vitas. I would love it. We would go deep on that. And those teams were like the Blazers of the late 90s and the Kings when it was Adelman and what they were doing with Jason Williams and Mike Bibby eventually replacing him. Like those were the style. I love
that. They had teams. Pete Carell from Princeton as an assistant coach on Rick Adelman's staff. And when you can get in the half-court offense, when you can get a guard a layup, it is demoralizing to the other team. but it's so refreshing as a fan to see the backdoor cuts and get a layup in the half-court offense. And that's what Rick Adelman and Pete Carell used to do. I love that offense. Do you have an opinion? I'm not going to talk too much Wolves. I did a podcast with Rosillo, and then somebody comments, this should conclude all Timberwolves talk. I was like, man, it's fun, man. I love it. I was just going to tell you that we're going to have on the show Finchy, head coach Chris Finch, who's supposed to be an offensive savant. He has a lot of good ball movement and all this stuff. But do you have an opinion on Carl Towns, who's from Jersey, and the Wolves and Chris Finch, or you don't know enough about Finch?
I don't know enough about him and his background, and and what's his background? Is it Celtics?
He actually
Celtics?
He coached a lot in Europe. He coached in Europe. Right. He was friends with Nick Nurse, and they coached Toronto. In Europe. I want to say they coached in England. And then he was coaching in the G League with the Houston Rockets. And then he was an assistant for the Pelicans, the Nuggets, and the Raptors. And everyone, he got his shot, and he just got an extension because he's the most popular guy in the organization after Anthony Edwards. He's just he knows his stuff. So we're fired
really
up.
Fun to watch. And Edwards, first of all, Edwards is a blast to watch, and he could have been a football player. We know all that. Can I tell you? I saw the Sandler movie on a flight, this Netflix movie, Hustle, and Anthony Edwards. Did you see it yet, Craig?
Yeah, I saw it. He's amazing. Yeah,
he's fantastic in it.
Yeah, he's a natural. He's so. I don't know if you ever saw the video of a post game. He's very funny at post game. He'll be eating his fast food, and hopefully they'll take that away from him at some point. But he's eating his fast food. Did you see when they asked him about the new ownership group, Mark Lowry and A-Rod? Did you see that?
I didn't see it. No, I did not see it.
He's pulling out his hair. He's just going like, I don't know. I don't follow baseball. Who's A-Rod? Who's A-Rod? It was so funny. He didn't know who A-Rod was. And A-Rod laughed his ass off and said, now he's my daughter's favorite player now because he doesn't know who I am. That's so funny.
A little humbling. Yeah, that's good. I don't know. T-Wolves, I hate to keep on going back, but like, one of the great regrets I have is I forget who got injured. One of them, Sam Cassell got injured, or Fred Hoiberg got injured. But you guys had the Lakers that one year. I thought it was. I mean, tell me the whole story because I remember someone went down.
I'll just tell you this: Sam Cassell. I guess he hurt himself on the big Cojones celebration after they beat Sacramento. He hit a big shot and he was
huge
running around, and he got a groin pull, so he barely played in the game again, the series against the Lakers, and we lost. We had the best record in the West. What was fun about it for me was I got to see the Lakers get spanked in 5 games to Larry Brown's Pistons. Just so people know, that year we played the Pistons twice because we're in the other conference. Beat them by 1, and we beat them in overtime. We were 2-0 against them, but they were extremely close games.
I hate to put you on the spot, but they had a fun backcourt. It was like Cassell, Hoiberg, but Dwayne Martin maybe was on that team.
The guy off the bench, but they had Sprewell on that team as well.
Was Spree on that team?
Yeah, Sprewell.
They had another guard who was like super electric at the time, and I used to love.
I think it may have been. Well, Troy Hudson was the guy.
Troy Hudson, that's who it was. Troy Hudson.
He was the electric guy. He played well against the Lakers mainly. He would just hit a bunch of threes against the Lakers. I wanted to shift gears. That's one of the great cliches. Shifting. I'm going to come up with a different one. I want to glide to another subject. The Life Gorgeous. What does the Life Gorgeous mean to Peter Schrager?
It means being able to live life on your terms, and doesn't mean making the most money. It doesn't mean having the most Instagram followers. It means what makes you happy and being able to do that on your terms. And I think you've mastered that. And I think some of the most people that I admire the most have done it. And whether it's work from home world and they've found a way to make it work and still make as much career accolades that they want, or it's professionally or personally. Like, to me, it's doing what you want to do and doing it within reason so that you can also live an enriched life and a fulfilled life.
What a beautiful answer. That was on the spot. Though? What's that?
Is that not the truth though?
No, it is. I mean, it's easier for me because I had a career goal and I achieved it. It wasn't always cracked up to be. Now I can, but I still work on things. I like writing, and I feel an obligation to do a book. But I was going to say the Instagram for me is really fun, and I do like to help people. And one of the things I talk about is drinking in moderation. And I don't want to get too personal with you, but I do this. I asked Iron Eagle, and he told me some stories and stuff. One is, the fun part is, what's your drink of choice if you drink? And then two, isn't it a great message to tell the young people, don't chase the night, don't binge drink, drink in moderation? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's great. And I think I was forced to that motto after the first season of Good Morning Football with a 4 a.m. wake up call. And it's like,
ooh,
in my 20s, okay, we can do it. Hair the dog. Let's just keep going. But like that shit eats at you at that hour, and then you can't be good. And we go on the remote shows, and it'll be LA for the Super Bowl. And I've got friends in LA, and we're throwing a party, and Drake's going to be there, and you should come, and Bieber's performing. But if we got a show in the morning, I got to go to bed at 8:00. Like I just gotta, it's just what it is. So my drink of choice, and you can criticize it if you must. I like a drink called a vodka gimlet.
Oh my Lord.
I get it. And I get it on the rocks. And I just sit back and I sip on it, and it's sour. And you could say, oh, that's not what a man should be drinking at 20. How secure am I that I will throw down 3 vodka gimlets on a Friday night, feel great, and be the happiest guy in the room?
Well, I have some very interesting news for you, Peter Schrager.
Please tell me that's your drink.
In my 30s, I used to drink vodka gimlets in my 30s. Rose's lime juice.
Yes.
So when now this is important. Drinking is important, and people know I only have 1 martini a week and a little red wine. In my 30s is when I started drinking vodka. I tried to drink martinis. My brother and I tried in our 20s. We didn't like it, so we just had beer and wine. So I didn't start drinking hard liquor until my 30s. My go-to drink on occasion was single malt Scotch, Lagavulin, Lefroy, but it smells magical. Put 1 ice cube, it opens it up. But I rarely have it now. So it was vodka. But I have to tell you something. I don't drink them anymore because I don't like the sugar. So now I just drink vodka up with a twist or olives. Sometimes a little vermouth for a martini. If it's vodka up, it's not officially a martini. I would say you're 40 now. Time to get rid of that sugar and just go with maybe vodka Pellegrino or vodka up. You can't keep doing the Rose's lime juice. You can't keep doing it, man. It's not good for you.
And I've been feeling it the last couple of years, and you put on the weight and you say, well, what do I have to cut out? Well, you shouldn't be drinking vodka gimlets all night. That doesn't do you good. I also like, not that I'm shy at a bar, but there's this, not toxic masculinity, but there is such a thing now about the bourbon experts and the Scotch
everybody's into the bourbon
and the Poppy Van Winkle and the whatever else. I don't know shit. I know what I like, and I used to drink Mad Dog 2020 in college, and then maybe I'd have a Schlitz beer. Like I'm not that guy. So I know there's like guys trips where they'll go to the distillery or whatever the hell it's called, and they look where like it's actually made. I'm into other things. So there's no airs here,
It's interesting because Poppy Van Winkle, someone gave me that as a gift, and I don't drink bourbon. It's too sweet. So I like single malt Scotch, but it's hard on my body, so I have it at the holidays. But I like what you're doing. It's just a little advice. Chill out on the Rose's lime juice. Just, I care about you.
Let me ask you another thing. Are you barbecue guy or no? Like everyone's got the green egg and I can't. I can't wait 8 hours for a brisket.
No, I as far as cooking, I do like to cook. I go through stages where I use my slow cooker, which is fun in the house. I rarely cook outside. I went through a stage where I did. Okay. I also went through a stage where I really was into barbecue and going to barbecue restaurants.
Oh yeah.
And there again, I'm repeating myself. There's sugar, there's molasses and sugar in barbecue sauce. So I'm savory over sweet. I eat a lot of cheese. I don't like all the sugar, but I don't waste too much time out barbecuing. I think we both kind of coast a little bit on some of this stuff. Yeah. We don't work too hard.
I'll nod my head, and I like to be, I work all day. I like to be.
I'll nod my head
over it. Yeah, I'm sure. No, totally. Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
I will say when I make food, I don't like to make 3 things. Like if I have people over, like I don't want to make the corn on the cob, the cornbread, and the chili. I just make the chili, and then I'll get your bag of chips. Yeah. I'm not going to work my ass off over here because I'm busy. I take a lot of naps.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to do. My guy Nick, the producer, calls it an NFL preview. I'm just going to have a little fun. I know you do your own preview. I'm just going to tell you my NFC and AFC championship teams, my prediction, okay? And I want you to tell me if I'm thinking straight. Let's start in the AFC. I've written down some names, but until I say them, I'm not sure. I like Russell Wilson. Is Denver's defense still good? Do they have a shot at getting to the AFC championship or not?
Very young, and their defensive coordinator is a first-year coordinator. He was a safeties coach for the Rams. I think if you're expecting Vic Fangio's defense, I'd say they're very young. And I also don't know if those wide receivers are all they're cracked up to be. And, Russ is that good, but I don't know if this is Stafford and Brady first year with a new team, just taking them over the top.
Okay. Did you already make, I'm going to tell you who I wrote down. I wanted to ask about Denver, but I wrote down, and this is not original. I just said I do believe in Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. And I also like Diggsy. So I have the Chiefs and the Bills in the AFC championship game. Is that, I don't want to take anything away from you. Did you have to make a prediction? Do you have to make a prediction or?
Of course. We wait until the day of NFL kickoff, September 9th, whenever it is.
Okay.
We wait until that day. But let's just say this. I speak with a lot of folks around the league, and anyone writing the Chiefs off just yet and doing a premature funeral for the Kansas City Chiefs doesn't know who they're dealing with at quarterback and head coach.
Okay. So let's go now to the NFC. It was easy for me to pick the Rams in the NFC Championship game. I've always liked Matthew Stafford and the guy, the defensive stud on the Rams. What's his name? Aaron Donald. Aaron
Beast.
Donald is like kind of ridiculous how good he is.
It's amazing.
But who they play, I find very, very difficult to choose. And I'm not, I think Brady's, I apologize. I think he's too old, and I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think Green Bay is going to do it.
What'd you make of the whole Brady thing? I appreciate your sports fandom and anything like this guy could have gone out, and I think it is gone out on top. He came back from 24 points last year in that NFC divisional round, and it just Stafford and Kupp killed him at the end. But like he went out with his head high. I let him back. It was like the perfect ending short of winning a Super Bowl. Then he retires and forget all the back and forth of why he came back and everything. I think there's a chance the Bucks fall off and then it's like, then what? Then what are you chasing in the future? You know, it's
the fact that he won in Tampa Bay is utterly ridiculous. What it does, what it does with the whole Belichick thing. It was the coach and the player. It was the team. That like changes everything. And Michael Jordan did not particularly do well with the Wizards, although he played solid with the Wizards. But it didn't change.
I think people say he was a lot worse with the Wizards than he actually was. He actually put up numbers and was an all-star.
He did.
Go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really think Brady could do anything that could tarnish his legend, in my opinion. If they have a bad year, the fact that he's still playing at his age is remarkable.
It's crazy.
And I let's come back to my NFC Championship thing. I want to say something. I was a Peyton Manning fan, and people would call him the greatest regular season quarterback of all time. He was a surgeon. Now, he didn't do the things in the playoffs all the time. He didn't also play that great in the elements outdoors in the cold. But I had this theory, and Brady said that Aaron Rodgers is more talented than he is. And I agree. I love watching Aaron Rodgers. I am stunned that he lost 2 playoff games at home the last 2 years. Does not help him. I sometimes think these guys that are more talented, they're missing something that Brady has because he's a little more limited, and he has this concentration or laser thinking where he knows how to win. And Aaron Rodgers says, I can dance and I can throw on the move, and I'm going to make a play here. It's 3rd and 16. This is going to be fun. And Brady's like, I got to get rid of the ball. Do you think there's anything there, being too talented and not having that winning edge?
I wouldn't pin that to Rodgers, because I think Rodgers has won a ton of big games at the end and has been clutch. Just his playoff career has not been what you would expect. But I would say there is something to Brady that this guy is driven in a whole different way. And I just know from people who have played with him and coaches who coach him and just how difficult it is to keep up at his level, that is not just natural gifts. That is something driving him that I think goes all the way back to being the 7th quarterback taken in the 1999 or 2000 NFL draft.
Right. Okay, back to my NFC. So I have
Rams.
I have the Rams. I'm eliminating Tampa Bay. I'm eliminating Green Bay. And this is where it's hard. Now, here's the team that I think is really, really, really good. I thought they've been good for 3 or 4 years, but their quarterback is unproven, and that's Trey Lance. I really like the Niners. I just think they're talented. What?
They're so
what do you
fun.
think?
They have the best. They've got the best left tackle in maybe the world in Trent Williams. They've got
Right.
the best running attack. They've got the best play callers in Kyle
Yeah.
Shanahan. And then you add in Fred Warner and Armstead and all these guys. The quarterback, though, is such an unknown. Like,
I know.
he might blow us away. He might do what Mahomes did. I don't see it. He's started one football game over a 17-month span, like before getting into the NFL last year. And it's just a lot to ask. Now,
Right.
if he can just move the ball and not do anything to break their backs, they're good enough to go to the playoffs. But I don't know if they're going to be as good as they were last year with a veteran quarterback.
Garoppolo is out, but is he going to play this year?
It remains to be seen what his situation is. If they keep him until the first day of the season, they got to pay him $24 million. They're not doing that. So who knows, Jimmy? And what's crazy is, from what I'm told, and I don't know when this is going up, like, he doesn't sit in the quarterback's room. He's not really going through the playbook. He's not coaching Trey Lance like as a big brother right now. It's almost like he's there at the Niners camp. He's collecting a check, and they're not asking him to do anything.
Oh, is he going to get traded or not?
I don't think you can trade him with the salary he has right now, considering the league. I think he's either going to have to be cut or he's going to have to agree to some crazy reduced price and then be traded.
Have you ever heard of, I'm done with that NFC stuff. Have you ever heard of a guy? I made my prediction. I said Rams and Niners. The Niners.
That was last year. Okay. All right. Rams and Niners.
I'm going Niners, even though I just think they're really good. And I like the coach, and maybe I think Trey Lance has to be solid. And
there's a lot of Vikings hype right now. I know that was your team growing up. There's a lot of Vikings.
No, I'm a Vikings fanatic. I'm concerned about the defense.
Yep.
Kirk is solid. He's in the 12 to 15 range of quarterbacks.
Agreed.
Paid in the top 5, unfortunately. Yeah. Love Dalvin. Love Justin Jefferson. Love Daniil Hunter. My favorite player is the hitman, Harrison Smith.
Amazing.
I love Eric Kendricks. But
great team. Darius Smith.
Yeah, we'll see how they do. They open at home with the Packers. I wish we didn't. I think we'd get in a rhythm, and maybe in game 3, but we might have a loss right there. But
that's an interesting one. It's the Fox National 4:00 window game. It's Packers Vikings. So it's like people, and I'll just tell you this: knowing that team, new GM, new coach, and we love Zim and we love Spielman, but there's a youthful enthusiasm and a bit of a ray of light around this team that hasn't been there the last couple of years.
Yeah. Kevin O'Connell is, we'll see. He could post up Sean McVay. He could beat Sean McVay one-on-one. I mean, the guy's an Adonis.
He's a good guy.
All right. We're going to do the Lord Kilby quiz. This is the Lord Kilby quiz. This is simple questions, profound insights from your answers. These are heavily researched questions that will reveal the soul of one Peter Schrager. Favorite book in elementary school? Favorite book in elementary school, Peter?
I loved a book called The Phantom Tollbooth.
I think I
mean anything to you. Phantom Tollbooth was this fantasy book about this kid who goes to a toll booth and goes into this magical world. It reminds me of the Chronicles of Narnia or something.
Okay.
But I loved The Phantom Tollbooth, and I also loved a book that was a little darker than I think they probably read right now. Something called A Bridge to Terabithia. Does that book do anything for you?
I don't remember that one.
These are two great. Okay, how about A Separate Peace? What about that one? With Phineas
I read War and Peace when I was in 3rd grade, and I read The Great Gatsby. But I read because F. Scott Fitzgerald grew up right outside of St. Paul, and I grew up in Hastings, 20 minutes from there. But I read Sports Illustrated had the greatest writers, according to Alistair Cook. Corey Kirkpatrick, I used to read the turn of phrase, and I used the word penurious in 8th grade. The lady said, What is that? It's frugal, blah, blah, blah. Dr. J. Penurious has the same pair of pants from his rookie years with the Squires. But I read Foul, the Connie Hawkins story about shaving points, and that was in 4th grade.
4th grade?
Yeah. But in addition to reading the...
I read a lot of those Matt Christopher books. Did you read those?
We read Encyclopedia Brown. Remember Encyclopedia Brown? Yeah.
Of course. Loved Encyclopedia Brown and the Hardy Boys. I read all that stuff.
Did the teacher ever read to you guys in class? like in third grade or not?
Yeah, I want to say yes.
She
Yes.
read
a lot of times.
She read a book called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which became Willy Wonka. That was fun.
Incredible. Roll
Yeah.
ball.
Okay, first concert you ever went to?
First
Remember?
concert I ever went to, 1997, Madison Square Garden. We went to the Canadian rock band Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
And at this concert, I was a freshman in high school or a sophomore in high school. I made out with a stranger, and it was on the floor of like Madison Square Garden, the theater, the smaller venue. And I'm making out with this beautiful girl from some town in New York, and I'm a New Jersey kid. And we got on the train on the way home, and I remember it was like a party that whole ride home. Bare Naked Ladies. This was before that.
Wow.
1 week. It was more like their earlier stuff. Brian Wilson. And If I Had $1 Million, that kind of era. But that was my first concert.
And you were with a fully clothed lady listening to Bare Naked Ladies, doing all sorts of things. And you were a bridge and tunnel guy, right?
Oh, totally. I would catch that train from Matawan, New Jersey, Matawan, Aberdeen, get into the city, and then you catch that 11 o'clock home.
You know, I knew prior to interviewing you, I didn't have to prep you at all. I just told you you're going to do your top 5 movies. But I knew you'd be cat quick on some of these answers. Like when I say first concert you ever went to, if someone said that to me, I'd have to think. I go, oh yeah, in elementary school, my dad, we went to see the Jackson 5 up in St. Paul, blah, blah, blah. But I would have to think a beat, and you're like, boom, 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 boom. Maybe because you made out with a lady. I don't know.
It was a special night. Last time I did that at a concert.
What's that?
That was the last time I did that at a concert. It was wonderful.
Oh, wow. Favorite Italian dish?
Yeah. All right. That's a great one here. Favorite Italian
It's not easy, by the way.
dish. It's not, because
There's so many good
there's a
ones.
lot that goes into it. I live in Brooklyn, New York, so there's a lot of there. And I grew up in Freehold, New Jersey, which is all Italian. So any answer is probably the wrong one. But I would say my favorite Italian dish would probably be an eggplant parmesan.
Oh,
And that might
are
be-
you
and
kidding?
that-
Did I
and that
influence
might-
you?
No,
I've
did
said
you say
that
as well?
before. I've said that.
Have
That's-
you?
I list 2, and that's one of the 2 I list. Yeah.
Okay, and then I would probably go with just and it depends on where. And you might say, well, that's not truly Italian, but like a good penne alla vodka with the right
Oh yeah,
sauce.
that's good. I love that vodka sauce.
I'll
Yeah,
put on 20 pounds eating that, and I'll eat
Right.
it cold the next morning and love it. So
you can
I would
heat.
say those
By the
two.
way, Peter, you can also heat it up the next morning.
Of course,
I'm not that lazy. I'll heat it up.
I like it cold. I'd also, a good calzone. And everyone loves pizza, but a good calzone with the right ricotta cheese.
God, I haven't had
and the right-
calzone in years. That a lot of carbs.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love the
know.
ricotta. No, eggplant parm I love, and I like it because instead of having lasagna with the noodles and the carbs, I can just have eggplant parm. And then speaking of carbs, I do like linguine con vongole. I love it. Peter, I like to put on a blazer sometimes, go to a piano bar, have a martini, and listen to old standards. Do you think I'm an oddball or one of the coolest guys in the world for doing
No,
that?
I think that's awesome. And
Thank
as
you.
long as it's true to you and you're not posing and trying to be
No.
that guy,
No.
that is good. Old standards, and what are we talking here? We're talking 20s, 30s. What are we talking? Like what, 50s, 60s?
Well, Gershwin, I'll give you like Skylark, There Is No
Yeah.
Greater Love, Polka Dots and Moonbeams. I request a lot of stuff. And then sometimes I request Jobim. Everyone knows Bossa
Okay.
Nova. They all know Girl from Ipanema, but he has all these other songs that are one-note samba and wave. He has all these great songs. It's
Dave
just very...
Brubeck, like that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Like that's where I grew up with. I love that. My dad would put that on in the CD.
Yeah.
Like, we just have that going.
isn't that the greatest?
It's amazing.
It's so-
and I feel
yeah.
like this, and not that these kids, like I'm yelling from a cloud, but like, gosh, it's such cool music and it's
Amen.
so good. And I don't
Amen.
know. You know?
2 more questions in the Lord Kilby quiz. You're doing very well.
I love this.
What do you think of crumbled blue cheese?
Delicious. Hook it to my veins.
Yeah.
IV. Give me an IV of crumbled blue cheese. I will
Thank
tell
you.
you this.
Thank
Sometimes I'll go to a steakhouse, a fancy New York steakhouse, if you
Yeah.
will, and I will say, I want the steak. Give it to me medium. I'm not too proud. I'll have it medium, not rare, and just crumble the blue cheese on it. And they're like, well, sir, I'm like, no. And I'll have it sometimes blue cheese crusted steak.
Absolutely.
And it's just melted in, and that is
See,
a dream.
you're a good person. You're a good human being. I'm addicted to crumbled blue cheese. If someone says I like it, No, you love it, and you love it.
You have to.
And on a side note, when I was in my 20s and even my 30s, and probably up until 42, I would get my ribeye steak medium rare. I go medium now. And sometimes I won't say medium well, but I go medium. It's just better for you. It's better for you, man. So that's okay. Don't be embarrassed by that.
A lot of my friends, they'll go into Peter Luger's. They'll say, I want it here. You know,
I know.
Or I'll go in or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no awards for that.
That's disgusting. Finally, favorite pie. Favorite pie.
A good peach pie, I don't think you can top with a little bit of vanilla ice cream. That is like a perfect
now you saw some of the podcasts. That's what Michelle Beadle said. Peach pie, a la mode, yeah. But it's much better than Iron Eagle. Iron Eagle was like, I don't like pies.
It's a strange take.
That hurt me. Still recovering.
There's a pie that I had earlier this summer, and I think it might have been a homemade pie, and it was like raspberry, peach, and cherry in one pie. And that might seem like too much, but oh my Lord, Craig, it was so good.
Sorry. Okay, we're going to take a quick, you did very well with that. You did very well. We're going to take a quick break. This is where it could go wrong. It could all go south on the top 5 movies. We're going to take a break, and Peter Schrager's top 5 movies of all time when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, when anyone sends you money or if you need to get paid back, always ask for Zelle. With Zelle, the money goes straight into your bank account. And it works even if the sender banks somewhere different than you in the U.S. You can probably tell by looking at me that Kreger's likes to eat out. A lot of French restaurants. Sometimes my friends pay. I don't like that. Afterwards, I use Zelle and I send them money. I ordered a lot of food. Sometimes we go down to the park and have a barbecue. Afterwards, we all pitch in. I use Zelle. I send hundreds of dollars to my friends. It's kind of a rush. I'm in the park eating barbecue, wearing linen. Life is good. The money sent goes straight into your bank account, typically in minutes between enrolled users. You don't have to download another app because it's probably already in your banking app. It's in over 1,600 different banking apps. Always double check that the sender has your correct U.S. mobile number or email address so the money goes to the right place, straight into your bank account. Look for Zelle in your banking app today. My name is Kreger's, and things are going very, very well. And we are back. Just to let you know, producer Nick has told me I need to switch up my movies. So I switched up my movies a little bit, my top 5, because I keep giving the top 5. And it's very intimidating. My 5 are very intimidating.
I know.
But let's do yours first. Does not have to be a particular order. Your top 5 movies of all time. This will tell me a lot about you. But you're younger. You're younger than I am. So
yeah, I am younger, and I don't have Chinatown and some of that stuff, or Nashville. I don't have any of that stuff. Mine is post 70s. Right. Mine is pretty much late 70s into today. And my first movie I want to provide is probably the first horror film I ever saw, but it is so much better than that. Jaws is on my list.
Oh, okay. You know, somebody just commented the other day, Allison Martino said Jaws, and then a comment was, Craig, Jaws is the best movie of all time.
I think it might be.
It's not the best movie of all time.
No.
Craig, have you ever seen Jaws? Yeah, I saw it years ago. I'll rewatch it. You know, I like Duel. I like Steven Spielberg Duel. Just relax. I'll see it.
The first Spielberg Duel. Yeah. Something that no one's seen. You're going Duel with Spielberg.
No, but I'll rewatch it, but it's not, I mean, come on. I like Cary Grant debonair stuff. I like that. But anyways, Jaws is a great movie. It's a great movie.
I think it might be the perfect movie.
Okay.
I think if you give it another shot, it is, and it's not as, I'm not talking about Jaws 2 or Jaws 3D. I'm talking about the original Jaws. So that's on the list. Number 4, I do have a PTA on this one. I am going with Boogie Nights as my
good movie.
Fourth one on the list. Anytime it's on, I'll be sucked in. I'll watch the entire thing. And I saw it in the theater, I believe, 3 or 4 times. I just thought there was anything like it. And it brought us back to the movies of our, yesteryear. And it's the perfect film, I think, as well in that kind of genre.
Okay. That's good. Okay. And you're doing an order, by the way. It looks like you're going 5-4. Okay.
5-4. Okay. Number 3 is a new one. It's one that came out in the last couple of years. And I'm sure you have interactions with this man. I have never met him. I'm putting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on my list.
Oh.
I freaking loved
Well,
it.
I'm glad you liked that. A lot of people did. I loved it too. And I really liked the surprise ending. I didn't see that coming.
It's
And
insane.
that was
Have
a
you
very
had any
good movie.
interactions with him? I know he's a sports fan. Like,
Which
do you know
guy? Which actor?
Tarantino. I'm
I
talking
had Tarantino. I had him on the show, and he liked at the Daily Show. For 5 questions, we had this kung fu movie, and the guy was smashing a guy's head, and he's really into those old kung fu movies.
Oh, yeah.
So I met him. Yeah, he's an interesting guy, and he has a theater over here that plays movies, and obviously very gifted. I always tell people one of the movies he did that I find underrated was called Jackie Brown. I always liked that
I love
movie.
him. Come on.
Yeah,
Great,
a lot of people haven't
great.
seen
Jackie
it.
Brown's great. You bring out, I think that was it was that Pam Grier is the first
Yep.
time we'd seen her in
Yeah.
years. And
Yeah.
then, gosh, tell me the actor across Robert Forster is the actor. Like to
Oh,
cast
he
those
was-
two. And he's coming off of Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
Cast anybody in the world. And he's like Pam Grier and Robert Foster and I think Bridget Fonda. Like those are our
Yep.
leads.
Yep.
I love that. It's great.
Yep. De Niro was in it. It was great. Yep. What were you on? What was that? What was that? 3 was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Okay, number 2.
I know this might roll your eyes. You might think it's a little cliche. I think Gladiator is a great movie.
It is a great movie. It's a great movie. In fact, I wanted to tell you, it's very highly rated. A friend of mine made me do his podcast and said top 5 since 2000, and I almost put Gladiator there. I haven't. The only thing I'll say is I've only seen it once. There are some movies I know are really good. I don't rewatch Citizen Kane. So I haven't rewatched Gladiator. I have to be in the mood. And there are other movies that are rated lower that I rewatch over and over again. And I'm going to tell you a couple of them. I'm going to tell you it's in my top 5 that I'm going to do do today. I'm going to tell you some of those.
And I think the perfect film, the one that no matter when I put it on, I am not only invested in. It's not some like silly music movie. I think Saturday Night Fever. Saturday Night Fever is the perfect film. I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. Saturday Night Fever is the perfect film from start to finish. You get the ethos of that time. You get some darkness. You get the friendship bonds, the masculinity of it all. I think it's amazing, and it does not ever get mentioned.
So it doesn't. That's a good movie. Now you're from that area, correct?
Yes.
And
it takes
then
place in Bay Ridge, and I'm from Jersey, which is right across the Staten Island whole thing. Yeah.
But it came out way before you were born, right?
Way before. I think it's 77. I was
77. Yeah, the disco era. Yeah. That's a fun movie. Have you seen the Bee Gees documentary yet?
So good.
Did you see when they said, hey, the guy says, the manager's like, I'm doing this movie with Travolta. I need a song. And they sent him all these songs that became the soundtrack.
It's the #1 selling album of all time.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great list. I'm so impressed. I didn't know you were such an NBA fan either. I'm impressed with you. And the blue cheese, you're like one of the perfect.
The NBA and the blue cheese.
I mean, you're like this
Craig,
perfect guy. All you had to do was say, and the girl I made out with later became, it was Linda Fiorentino, and she became an actress or something like that. But anyways, okay. Because my producer says I need to switch it up, I switched up a couple. So instead of saying North by Northwest, I'm saying Vertigo, Hitchcock movie. Hitchcock. Yeah. And then I still have The Graduate there because I can never take that off my top 5.
Okay.
Oh.
Can I tell you something? This summer I read Mel Brooks's biography. Have you read this book yet?
No. He was married to Anne Bancroft, who was in The Graduate.
The Graduate. And it's a lot about that and how the balance of their marriage was, where here she's this Hollywood starlet and obviously Mrs. Robinson and all this stuff. And here's Mel Brooks, this goofy guy who did the Sid Caesar show of shows, but you would love it. It's called It's All About Me. I can't recommend it more. Great book.
I'm going to check it out. Vertigo, The Graduate. This one, I'm sorry, because I'm just giving it because other people are older. There's a movie I rewatch over and over. It's not really in my top 5, but it's Robert Redford in the 70s, 3 Days of the Condor. I love espionage.
Love it. Now know the movie? Love the movie.
What, you know the movie?
Of course I know that movie.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen all these movies, but I can't put them on my favorite list. It would be disingenuous.
Well, this is not my favorite list. I'm just changing it because I've been forced to. I'm going to name, for the young people, I'm going to name one of my favorite. I really like Daniel Craig as Bond. I'm going to say Skyfall. Now, Casino Royale is rated higher. They have Ava Green in there, but Javier Bardem is dominant as the villain, Skyfall. And then I'm going to name another one that I rewatch over and over, not a Bond movie, but a Daniel Craig movie, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Oh,
great books. Great books.
I love that.
I'll tell you something. And we were talking about bourbon, scotch, and cooking on a barbecue. I have a couple blind spots pop culture wise. Bond is one of them.
Oh,
I don't think
interesting.
People talk about octopus in all these films and GoldenEye. I have no I'm blank. I got nothing.
Did you see any Sean Connery Bond movies growing up, like Goldfinger? No,
none of them. No, I played the video game. That was all I know about it.
Interesting. That's the only real.
I saw Austin Powers.
That's not Bond.
I love this movie. I know.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's a parody of Bond, you idiot. I'm like,
right.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you: have you seen the Daniel Craig Bond movies or not?
No, I still haven't. No, Adele can sing a song and all that. I get it. I just never seen it. No.
Would you do me a favor before you're on next time, because you're now officially a regular? You're so good. Would you make sure you see Skyfall at least once or twice?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll do it. Absolutely.
I really appreciate this. You were what I thought you would be.
Oh,
and then some.
It means a lot. And I don't ever do, and I know everyone says I don't ever do this, but like I never pitch myself for a podcast, but the vibe that you have and the conversations and just knowing what you meant to me as a kid, as not only entertainment, but like, oh, cool. Now he's crossing over into doing not only film, but then also hosting, some of the best late night shows there are. Like, it's a pretty cool career. And I aspire to someday do all the stuff that you're doing. It's pretty neat.
Thank you, Peter Schrager. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter Schrager. He is good people. Well, here's a popular segment. I answer your questions. It's going very well. And remember, go to the YouTube page, the YouTube channel, ask a question, leave a message. And here we go with the first question. Very serious.
Craigers, Baskets, Arkansas here. Have another question. Love the podcast. I noticed that on your TV show, you were such a fan of dancing. It was one of my favorite segments of the show when you danced. You had such elegant dance moves. Do you dance in real life? Keep dancing, sweet Kilby. I hope that you do. Love you.
Thank you. Yeah, I do dance. I don't go to clubs like I used to. I do enjoy dancing. Listen, the bottom line is I played basketball. I'm coordinated. I'm coordinated on the dance floor and on the basketball court. There are people back in the 70s where disco music came out, which was dance music, and some of the guys at high school, they were rock and rollers. They said disco sucks. I think because they're kind of awkward and klutzy and can't dance. I can dance. I don't do it very often in public. I do it around the house. Feels good. Feels good to have that kind of command over your body. Thanks for your question. Next question.
Craigers, this is Mike from Philly. I know a lot of us out there think of you as the natural host. I'm wondering, there's only one host comparable to you, Johnny Carson. Have you guys ever met or interacted? Thanks, Craig. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. That is very, very high praise. And I'm going to try to be as humble as possible, if I'm pronouncing that word correctly. There was a television critic, a journalist, who did actually compare me to Johnny Carson, which I thought the guy was a little far-fetched. But Johnny was cool and sophisticated. In my opinion, he was easily the best of all time. And I'm not in that category. But I understand where, because he was smooth and because I was told I was a natural host, there's some type of comparison, even though he's in the stratosphere, in my opinion. I did interview Ed McMahon, his sidekick, a few times, and he told me backstage, hey, Johnny likes you. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I was a big Carson fan. He was sophisticated and smooth, and he was my favorite. Thank you for your question.
Hi, Craig. A friend and I once sighted you at the Edmond, and he was surprised that your phone screen was cracked. Can you remind my friend Neil that phone quality is not imperative to living the life gorgeous?
Well, that's a great question and a great point. It is not. However, the screen was not cracked. the safety screen over the screen may have had a crack in it. It was replaced at the right time. No rush. Phone works fine. Didn't see the crack at certain angles. But the actual screen wasn't cracked. It was the protector, the screen protector. Thanks for your question. Next question.
Hi, Craig. Tremendous fan of the show. I was wondering if you could provide us with any recommendation on an everyday bottle of red wine that you enjoy, as opposed to something that you might only have on a special occasion or a nice restaurant. Thank you for the podcast and for the content you provide online.
Thank you. That's a good question. So sometimes I'll buy the red wine for home and I waste it because I might not finish the bottle over the 3 to 5 days when it stays good. So I'm basically having 1 or 2 glasses. Nothing jumps out. I want to say maybe I drink cabs. I used to drink Pinots, and maybe there's a J. Lohr cab. I'm trying to think what other ones, but I do experiment. I have a couple wine stores. I do go to Trader Joe's. My brother likes Trader Joe's. He tries certain reds, but nothing really jumps out. I mentioned J. Lohr. If I come up with other ones, I'll let you guys know. Thanks for the question.
Craigers, Lord Kilby, Chris here from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Just checking in between sending some friends money via Zelle. What a gas. Anyways, I was thinking it might be nice for your listeners to hear you answer some Minnesota-specific questions. You know, so they don't get confused by the mahogany panel den and forget how approachable and down-to-earth you are. So I've got 3 top 5s. You can choose one, or since I know you to be a man of charity, perhaps you'll answer all 3. Top 5 Minnesota cities, top 5 Minnesota restaurants, past or present, since I know ours tend to not stick around quite as long as your French restaurants on the coast, or finally, top 5 Minnesota sports athletes of all time. Gotta run. Gotta pick up some more felt pads from the Home Depot. Oh, and Craigers, one more thing. I'm proud of you.
Wow. That was lengthy. That was entertaining. The felt pads is an old reference to probably my first video on Instagram. Going to the Home Depot for felt pads for my club chair. I'm going to do the restaurants because of the time constraints. I'm going to do restaurants. My favorite restaurant is in St. Paul. It's called Meritage. It is French. A lot of people, my friends out there, don't go to St. Paul. They hang out in Minneapolis. Minneapolis, Fima's. David Fima is a friend of mine. Great chef, great restaurant, Fima's. Manny's and Murray's. Manny's Steakhouse, legendary. Murray's Steakhouse, legendary. Billy's Sushi. Billy's a friend of mine. Great guy, big Timberwolves fan. Billy's Sushi, very popular there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That, I believe, is 5, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that is 5. Thank you for your questions. You guys are doing a great job. We'll see you next time. And remember, I'm proud of you.